Theodore Roosevelt once said, "The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, and spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best, if he wins, knows the thrills of high achievement, and if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat."
Welcome to the Day Before Rehab podcast. I'm Anthony. It's my wife,
Megan.
This is something totally new for us. We're just like putting ourselves out there. The name Day Before Rehab podcast has like some big meaning for us, and we're going to get into that. But really, this is just an outlet to put ourselves out there, track our journey from the Day Before Rehab, which was not long ago.
That it was not.
The hardest part for this is just we're just trying to be ourselves. I'm not unique in this situation. The Day Before Rehab for me is probably very similar to a lot of other people. Basically, I went to rehab October 27th. My sober date is not October 27th. It was not ideal for me to drive to rehab sober, so I got insanely wasted on my way to rehab, drove an hour and a half away, and checked myself in. So my sobriety date's October 28th, 2023. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it was something that you needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's something you originally didn't want to do. And I think you had an awakening that your life was that bad that you needed to go.
The day I came to the house after you threw me out, when I went to start trouble and you were working, did I go to rehab that night? Was it that night?
Yes. So
I'm at work, and I knew stuff was hitting the fan. Like I was like losing my mind. I'm at work, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go start some shit. And like I didn't really know where I was gonna go. I knew you were working. Just a little backstory: my wife works out of the house. She's a hairdresser, and we converted the middle bedroom to a salon. So typically a work day for me ends around 4:00, and there's no doubt that 4:00 on Thursday she's going to be working. So I left work and I drove home, and I'm like, I'm high as a kite. And funny story, I couldn't believe it even got this bad. And this is the kind of thing that's like makes me a little nervous putting this out there, but I left work to go to South Philly to get something I shouldn't have gotten. And
we might as well say what it is that you had to get.
Yeah, you're right. So we'll get into all this, but the last couple of weeks before I went to rehab, I was snorting Perk 30s like they were going out of style. I was getting them off a deaf dude in South Philly. The guy, he was fucking deaf, dude. He would FaceTime me like, and he couldn't really talk. I'm like, where you at? I'm like, what? It was so horrible. So anyway, I'm like, my boss was at the job, and I just did them in the bathroom. Literally just did them in the bathroom. And I come out and like, that feeling of like, this is going to be great. And then he walks in the door. So I'm in construction management. Obviously my wife knows all this, but I'm running a project. I'm the lead superintendent. So everything that happens on the job, everything in the field is kind of under my watch. So yeah, not the position to be a drug addict, and not a position that you can do well as a drug addict anyway. So I just come out of the bathroom in the trailer, and he comes walking in, and I'm like, oh, fuck. And he tells me how good of a job I'm doing. He tells me how good of a job I'm doing. And, later on in the day, I don't know if we were texting, we weren't really talking at all, but something triggered in me, like, I'm just going to go home and start trouble. And when I got home, luckily it wasn't that bad. I didn't blow things up.
No, a client walked in and you walked through the front door, and I tried to keep calm.
Yeah. And I think I realized I had like some sort of like moment of clarity. Like I couldn't do this in front of your clients as they're upstairs. I did know that. And
You did come in though.
yeah, I came in hot.
Yeah, you came in hot. Said I was a terrible wife.
Yeah.
How could I do this to you? How could I leave you at your most vulnerable moment?
Yeah.
And I said, you did this to yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's your fault. And then I went upstairs. You slammed the door. And then you came back. And I said to my customer, hold on real quick. My husband's back. I thought he left. And he was taking water and seltzers from the fridge in a bag.
Yeah.
So what I think I had just bought myself like a bunch of energy drinks, and I'm like, oh my God, he's stealing all my drinks. So I went down there and then I saw that he was only stealing the water and the seltzers. And then I looked at you and I realized how bad you looked. And I said, go outside, because I could tell you were high as shit.
Yeah. So this is only like 87, 88 days ago. I have 85 days today. So like, it's crazy how bad I let it get so quickly. So this is not the first time I went to rehab. This is the third time. I went 10 years ago and I think 6 years ago. And there's a lot of history, a lot of different mixed emotions about the past 10 years. But what I didn't realize until you told me. So I had a year and a half sober 5 years ago. And my wife doesn't even remember it that way. Right? You don't even believe that it was a year and a half.
No.
So it was a year and a half. And I know this because after we got engaged and you planned your bachelorette party, I think your bachelorette party was planned and the trip was actually 6 months later.
I don't know if it was that far, my batch, from our.
So-
you originally wanted the wedding date because you were going to be sober for a year.
Right. So whenever you planned your bachelorette party, from that date, say you planned it on January 1st, which you didn't, and you were going away April 1st, I knew for 4 months as soon as you walked out of the house that I was getting fucked up.
Yeah.
And I've never had more than 90 days sober at this point, but at this point I was a year sober. And when I explain this to like other people that are sober, they think it's insane because like I actually planned a relapse 4 to 6 months in advance, and they're like, they think like that I was walking around like like a dry drunk, they'll call. But in my head, I'm like, I'm excited for vacation. I'm looking at this like this is vacation. I got 4 months to vacation, 3 months to vacation, and I know we haven't really talked about this specifically, but that's how I looked at it. And then when you left, I got wasted for like maybe you weren't gone for a couple of days, right?
Just one day.
Yeah, I got wasted for like 36 hours straight, and you knew, but you didn't know, but you knew.
Yeah.
And then I had to deal with that, and that was over 5 years ago. And I really thought that I was a good husband for the most part for the past 5 years. And I wasn't. I just was a drug addict, lying piece of shit. And when you said that to me, like, you've been like this for years, and we've been together 8 years, and I've been like this 80-90% of the time. It's crazy. It's crazy. But this time is different for a variety of different reasons. Why do you think this time is different? Or do you even think this time is different? Because I believe that it's different. Do you?
I mean, I hope that it's different. I will always have my guard up. I have to trust the process because regardless, you're going to do what you want. If you want to get high, you're going to get high. I can't control that. You are doing a lot of things that are different from what you did before.
Yeah.
But I can only hope, and I can only, just like how you got day by day, and just hope for the best. And better you means a better us.
Yeah.
You seem way more motivated this time, but I always get nervous that you do too much too fast.
Yeah.
Too much on your plate.
Yeah.
And then if your schedule gets messed up, you get messed up, and I don't want that to ruin you mentally and make you want to use drugs because of that.
No, you're right. You're right. So let's go back to the day before rehab for a second, right? So, let's go 2 weeks before rehab. So you caught me again. So this was like the 100th time that you caught me, and the 99th time that you caught me, you said if I catch you again, I'm throwing you out, and you caught me again. So it's funny, like when you found what you found, I thought I left it somewhere else, right? Actually, I thought I didn't know if I lost it or if I dropped it, or I know I didn't take it. And then when you found it, like I went to work. Well, first of all,
I thought you would know as soon as.
yeah, I was amazed. Like,
Yeah.
So, but you knew the night before.
Yeah.
You found the night before.
I waited all day.
You waited all day. You let me go to work. I went to the gym. I come home from the gym. I get a shower. I'm watching TV on the couch, and you come down and you place it right next to me. And at this point, I know I'm caught. I know it's over. So do you remember? I'm like, oh shit, I was looking for that.
Yeah, well, sort
I
of.
was just trying to be a jerk. And you put it next to me. I'm like, oh man, I was looking for that, knowing that this is over. And then you threw me out.
Yeah.
You threw me out. And I forget what day of the week that was. It was definitely the end of the week because
yeah, like a Wednesday or a Thursday.
Yeah. So
you didn't want to go. You didn't. But though, if you backtrack, like when I had found it and I had given you an ultimatum that you needed to go to rehab or outpatient, you said no.
Yeah.
You said you're not doing either, and I said, well, then this is it. I gave you I gave you chances over and over.
Yeah.
I gave you. I think it might have been a Wednesday because I think you waited. I think it was a Friday that you have left the house to go.
I went to rehab on a Friday.
So then maybe it was one.
But
Wednesday.
like I forget which day I came down the shore. So right now we're filming we have a place in Margate, and this was significant. We'll get back to what Megan just said. This filming our first podcast episode here was significant because the day before rehab, I was here on my knees crying in so much pain in my bathroom, begging whatever spirit is out there for help. It was so bad. Like, I think one of the funniest things about when you're actually in recovery and you're not active and doing drugs and like you're finally removed from it. Like you can laugh about these, like me personally, an addict can laugh about these things, but I was on my knees in the bathroom and it was so bad. And I was like crying in the bathroom, but and like 12 hours ago, my boss was just at my job telling me how good I was doing. And I just, like I said to you last night or yesterday, I was doing I wore this shirt for a reason. I was in AC by myself and I was on all types of drugs. And I went to the bathroom and I blew my nose and blood came out of my shirt. Right? Like, and I'm like, looking in the mirror, looking at my shirt. I'm like, well, I'm not going home. And I remember waking up the next morning, like, what am I doing? And then that lasted 3 or 4 more days. And so finally, like, I get in the shower and I get out and like, there's so much more to this story that, we'll get into, like, but I get in the shower and I'm on my knees and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you worked so hard for this life. Like everything, my dad came to my mind, like my career, my wife, my daughter, like, it just was like, what are you doing? And the way I describe it, like if I'm talking to someone like me, it's like I lost my soul. You know what I mean? Like it was so crazy. So then my sister texted me. My sister, obviously we know my sister's been sober for like I don't know, it's almost 17 years, I think. Mm-hmm. And obviously we're so tight, and she texted me just random text. I think it's time you go away. And I'm like, I think you're right. And the craziest part about the whole thing is like, I should have went away a year ago, and I didn't because like I'm the boss and I'm in charge, and like I can't not be at work, and like I don't miss work, and And I call my boss. I literally was standing right in the kitchen, and I'm pacing back and forth, and I call him, and I'm like, yo, man, I'm crying. Like, I'm crying. 40-year-old man, I'm crying on the phone to him. And I'm like, dude, I got to go to rehab. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, you were just at my job. Like, it's
Yeah.
running like clockwork, you know? And that was the only thing I was doing well was my job. And he's like, where are you going? And I tell him where I'm going. And the very next thing he said was, oh, no shit, my ex-wife went there. You know, Aerosmith went there too? And I'm like, oh my God, such a sigh of relief, dude. And he was like, dude, forget work, forget everything. This is fine. Your job's like immediately, your job's good. Don't worry about it. And we like, not that we had to laugh, but like if like his ex-wife went there and he understood. And it was the best experience of my entire life. So what was it like for you?
You going away?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I mean, a mix of emotions. I was happy, but also, prior, before you had left, you had agreed to do outpatient.
That didn't work.
Yeah, before. So going
real quick, so an outpatient, right?
Yeah. So
we go to a gym in Margate, or in Summers Point, which is only like 10 minutes away from Margate. And the guy that owns the gym owns an outpatient rehab, like coincidentally, right next door to the gym. So I reached out to him, Ian.
Yeah.
Totally put myself out there.
You made me feel good when you had left the house and you said, well, I'll do outpatient, we'll go back and forth to work and the gym's right there. So I'll go to, outpatient, the gym, work. And I remember telling my mom and being like, this is great. Like, he's going to outpatient. This is awesome. Awesome.
You thought it was going to work?
Yeah. Like, I thought it was a little too much, maybe driving back and forth, like the drive, because the commute would be long. But I thought, I like a sigh of relief, like, okay, he's going to do something.
Right.
Like, he's willing to do something. And I was, out of every time you've been, the relapsing, I've always felt okay when you had told me that, that you have been doing drugs. Even though I've always had a feeling,
that was when you said it the other day, that was interesting. You said, you're like, basically the relapses were okay because you always told me. What does that mean?
I just it was like my coping mechanism. Like, I just became accustomed of maybe a numbing thing, like being okay with you, not okay with you doing drugs, obviously, but okay, he is relapsing, but he tells me he's relapsing. So I felt like it was like, he always tells me. So like, if I was talking to a friend or a family member, I just was always so confident and just felt like so secure in like me saying, well, he always tells me when he's like, if he relapses. So like, I have to believe him until then. Like, I just always gave you the benefit of the doubt until I caught you. So I guess you could kind of relate it to if someone, has a boyfriend that's abusive verbally or hits someone. Well, he only does it once a year and kind of making it like, okay, well, he doesn't hit me every day. Right. And we know he might hit me just once a week. And then somehow just making something that's bad seem better. Yeah. To make me not feel as bad, I guess you could say.
Like my therapist was like, well, we obviously we talked about this with my therapist, and he was like, because I never looked at it. I never looked at that as being verbally abusive. Now I know, I like when we fight sometimes, which thank God we don't typically fight when I'm like this. I say some mean things and I horrible things, and that's a topic for another day. But the most horrible things I've said, and we know that the worst, and that's verbally abusive. There's no doubt about that. But I never realized that me lying to you all the time and getting you to believe that I was sober when I wasn't. He's like, that's verbally abusive, my man. And I'm like, I'm like, it is? And I just was like, I'm just lying about being an addict.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're driving your wife mad because you're getting her to believe that you're sober when you're not. That's verbally abusive, my man. And I'm like, so like, and that me laughing is not like me laughing at the situation.
No.
It's like, oh my God,
it's
like,
easier
it's the insanity.
Yeah.
Like, cause like, even now with 85 days sober, I can't believe that 86 days ago, I drove to rehab high as a kite. Like, I can't even believe that I let myself get that far. Like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. So let's talk about how we started the name and how this whole idea came from. Is that all right?
Yeah.
So I'm in graduate school. I enrolled at Drexel's online MBA program, I guess 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And I went for a year. And then the past year has been pretty terrible because I just couldn't stop doing what I was doing. So I took a leave of absence. So I'm in rehab, and you get your phone twice a day. And, within a week, I already read a book. And then within the second week, I read 2 more books.
You were ordering like 4 books a day.
Yeah. So let's
for like 88 days straight.
Yeah. I read David Goggins' second book. I read both Jocko's books. I read The Four Agreements. I read The Obstacle is the Way. I read this chick Brene Brown's, I think it's Daring Greatly. I ordered an organization development textbook. Right. So in the midst of all this reading, like I finally feel awake. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm going back to school. I'm doing it. So I go through my emails.
Which is like typical behavior for you.
Me. Typical drug addict behavior.
Yeah.
Typical trying to solve all my problems in a 28-day rehab.
Yeah. Fixate something.
Typical.
But
the way I rationalized it was, well, and it's true because the year leave of absence was up very soon. And if I didn't re-enroll, then I was going to have to reapply. And I don't know what would have happened to the credits that I've already taken and passed. So I re-enroll. I even have a FaceTime meeting with the academic advisor in the courtyard at rehab. And I'm like, I'm doing this shit. This is going to happen. And that's how my brain works. It's totally crazy. Like if I told anybody, any counselor, any normal human being that I was doing that, they would have said I was nuts. But I did it. I did it. So anyway, I get out of rehab the day after Thanksgiving. And the funny part about that is I read the book, The Obstacle is the Way. And even though I was supremely pissed when you didn't want me home for Thanksgiving.
You fought me on it.
I did. Because I couldn't, like, in that moment, I thought, like, this is 26 days in rehab. They're going to let me go 20 days, 27, which was Thanksgiving. Like, why would you not want me to come home? And you were very blunt. You said, I think verbatim, if you're here, you'll ruin my time. Like you'll ruin this experience. Yeah, Thanksgiving's at my house, our house, but also my house. And I couldn't see in that split second, like, you idiot, loser, scumbag, you're in rehab. You just sucked the life out of me for the past year. Why would I want you to come home and ruin the holiday with me and my family the second you get out of rehab? I couldn't see that in that split second. And then
I felt guilty after I said it. I was out to eat with my mom, and after I said it, I said to my mom, like, I feel so bad. And my mom's like, I feel bad too. And I'm like, you know what? No. I'm like, because I always just let you back in. And I'm like, this is just, I'm not dealing with this bullshit anymore. No. I mean, I put up with it for so long. I was literally like done, like with it all, like just so done with it all. Like finally, like I was putting my foot down. I just couldn't live my life. Like wondering if you're high, not high.
Yeah.
The days I ask you if you're high and you say, no, I'm good. I swear to God. And I'm like, all right, maybe I'm crazy. Because I would always make a joke about it after.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that was tough. And we argued about that. And, you were like, I want to go to Gonzo's house. And I'm like, what? Like, huh? I'm like, what do you mean you're going to go to Gonzo's house? He's got like 30 people over there that are like partying and drinking. Like, why would you want to put yourself in that position? You were like, because I want to be home. And I'm like, well, you're not coming home here. And then finally, I don't know if you talked to him, but that saying that maybe it wasn't a good decision.
He I don't know if he told me in rehab or after that.
I think maybe I called him and was just like,
he didn't think it was a good idea either.
Yeah, he cannot come to your house. He's like, I knew it was a good idea. He just wanted to be a good friend at the same time.
So back to the book, The Obstacle is the Way, which is like, in my mind, is kind of like totally relates to all things I do in my life. I looked at it and I shared about this, and I've talked about this many times, that, okay, I can't come home for Thanksgiving, but if I can stay sober, I never have to miss another holiday for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this, and that's it. That's it. That's the answer. That's the answer. You stay sober, and you never have to miss another holiday for the rest of your life. Now, like, it all sounds good. All this sounds good, like, but it's like, like, because you get into these moments, and things happen, and all of the preparation that you think you have done to get through situations goes out the window when something happens that you don't want to happen. And like, that hasn't occurred yet, but we've had disagreements. I don't think we've had one legit fight since I've been home, but we've had disagreements.
Yeah. Small things.
Yeah. Our communication is really good. But anyway, so I get out of rehab. There was a couple different things that had to happen to get out of rehab. One was basically just doing something for my recovery every single day. And two, I had to get a therapist. So I found this therapist, which was crazy in itself. So I emailed the therapist while I'm in rehab, and you only get your phone twice a day, from 11 to 11:30 and from 6 to 6:30. I call him, I email him. And then the next day, as I got my phone, like 2 seconds later, he called with my phone. Like, I could have missed this call and this might have never transpired. I might never met the guy. So now I start therapy, which has been great.
Yeah. Yes.
Dr. C is the man. The guy's awesome. He's a psychotherapist, but also a life coach. And it's like, the timing and the way the world works for me to meet this guy when I did is like amazing, because
he's also sober too, right?
Yeah, he's in recovery. He's in recovery, and he tells some funny stories. Like, the dude's like this. He's the top therapist in Marlton, wins awards, and like, he's the man. The dude's the man. He actually said we could do a podcast in his office if I wanted to.
Oh, cool.
Like him and I, as one of the sessions. So, the best part for me about being sober is, and like, you're not a Seinfeld fan.
No.
But I've watched every episode with...
I probably loved Seinfeld, though.
So my dad, he got sober when I was a senior, but all through high school he wasn't sober. But we watched Seinfeld every single night together, almost practically during the week, from like, it was either 7 to 7:30, and then Friends was on, or vice versa. And one of the episodes, George Costanza stops having sex. Right now, George is like, on the show, he's like a dummy, just does stupid stuff all the time. He's like he's just a dumbbell. And he stops having sex one episode, and all of a sudden he's like this like real articulate guy with all these insightful ideas, and because he stopped having sex. And I'm like, that's me. Stop doing drugs, and like, all your brain power is activated, and you're articulate, and you're insightful, and you're doing all these things, and you're reading, and like, you're plugged in. And then at the end of the episode, he gets dumb again. It's so stupid.
Because he starts having sex?
So Jerry Seinfeld's like, what happened? Like, because obviously everybody knew that he was very like all like smart sounding. And Jerry's like, what happened? He's like, I slept with the Portuguese waitress. So like, and then like, unfortunately, like the horrible part is, I don't sleep with the Portuguese waitress. I start blowing lines up my nose and stop reading, stop being a good husband, stop being a good human, lose myself, lose my soul, and end up in rehab. And that's horrible. Like, when you really think about it, it's horrible. So I meet the therapist, and we talk about my goals in life, and my recovery journey and all this stuff. And we do a check-in, which means like we just talk about sobriety for a little bit, and then we get into more me and like what's going on in my life. So my plan is to get my MBA, right? I think I have a year left, maybe like a year and a quarter. I want to get my MBA. I want to use my experience in construction management, combined with my personal experience and my education. And I want to break into either organization development or leadership development. That I'm working out the pieces. And he said to me, he's like, what are you selling? This is after like 3 or 4 sessions. And he's like, what are you selling? He's like, you don't have to answer this now. He's like, but if you plan on doing this, you're going to be in a meeting one day and you're going to be sitting in front of someone, and they're going to want to know what it is that you're selling. And they're going to want to know quickly what it is. And, I kind of was stunned, and I didn't know what to say. I'm at a loss for words. And I said, all I know is the day before rehab was so painful. I just want to get as far away from that day as possible. That's all I know. He's like, that's what you're selling. If you can figure out a way to put that into words, that's what you're selling. And then he said, like, I'm super hard on myself. Like, I'm a dumbbell. I'm an idiot. Like, I don't even know how I made it this far in life. He said, you should write a book, my friend. He's like, I did it. And I'm like, he went to like, I think he got his PhD from like the University of Chicago or something like that. It's like the way he describes it, he's kind of cocky and arrogant, but I like it because he's cool. Like it's like one of the best schools to get the degree that he has. Whatever. I'm like, dude's the man. And he's like, I'm like, how long did it take you to write the book? He's like, 2 years. So I'm like, all right, I can write a book. Right?
Yeah.
Like I can do this. I can write a book. As soon as I went to work the next day, I got there early and I started writing notes like how I can do this, and then I got sick. Remember, I was sick Wednesday. I was sick Tuesday and Wednesday, or Wednesday and Thursday a few weeks ago, and I was being a little bitch. I didn't go to the gym. I did. I read the one day. I didn't read the next day. I still did something both days for recovery. So I didn't not do that. That's the ultimate goal.
Yes.
But I was being such a bitch, right?
Yes, you were.
And I say to you, and I want to hear your version. I say to you, we're in the kitchen. And I'm like, how am I going to be this world famous, like motivational guy if I'm not always on? And what did you say?
I don't know. I forget what I said.
You said, what would Tim say?
I forget.
That's what you asked me. What would my counselor in rehab say? Because of the perfectionist attitude.
I don't know. I'm like drawing a blank.
Ah, you're blowing it. So
I know. I know it's probably like something funny and cocky back, but I just can't remember.
Well, my biggest downfall in life is that I try to do things.
Too much. Like too much pressure.
Yeah.
Take a step back.
Yeah.
You put too much on your plate. But I was not for you writing a book.
No. You were all.
I just had said, like, from someone I know, one of my customers had wrote a book. I think she had written a book maybe 2 years ago. And I had suggested to you, like, why don't you start a podcast? Like, put yourself out there like that. Get maybe some followers and some people that want to hear your story.
Right.
That gives you, maybe like a jump start to eventually writing a book.
Right.
But the whole goal of you doing the podcast is to get your story out there, and you want to be a good leader. And these are all things that you have to do to become a good leader, right?
Right. So that's kind of that's what happened at therapy. I'm like, all right, day before rehab, chapter 1. And he's like, the guy's like, he puts you on the spot. He's very on point, very blunt. He's like, well, it doesn't have to be the first chapter, but okay.
Yeah.
Like kind of like breaking me. He always like brings me down to size.
You have to. You have to bring you down because you like are always on like a high, like regardless of what it is. Like, all right, you wanted to get your MBA, and now it's the podcast, it's the book.
Yeah.
I'd say about 5 years ago at this point, it was buying and selling houses. We bought a house. I was like, how the hell are you going to do this?
Yeah. The one thing I will say with this time,
it's different for you.
It's different. Like I'm totally able to wake up early, go to work. I get up 2 hours before work. I get to work an hour and a half early. I do my schoolwork. I work on my assignments. I get through my work day. I go to the gym. If I can read before I do something for recovery, then I will. But like I'm able to stay present. Yeah. I'm not like, in a year and a half, I'll have my MBA and I'll start my own business. It's not like that. Like, it's not like that. Like today I'm able to stay in the moment, which feels good, And, so I think the goal of this podcast, I think it's a couple different things. It's like, mainly it's an outlet to get things off my chest. I'd like to have guests on here who have had similar experiences about the day before rehab and, what their journey was like from that day, what they were like before that day, what that day was like, and kind of where their lives are at now. But I want to, this is kind of to track my experience because
you're just an average dude trying to do above average things.
That's it.
And it's, if you can do it, anyone can do it. It's sort of mindset.
Yeah. And like what that looks like for me, like, I'm not big on New Year's resolutions, but we did create a couple this year. Yes. And for me, they were simple. Get out of the way, dog. for me, they were simple. It was read 12 books in 2024, complete 8 quarters of graduate school, do a CrossFit competition, and obviously get a year sober. And the CrossFit competition is with you. So in addition to that, we decided to do some crazy stuff for January, right? What are we doing in January?
100 miles in January. And I'm also doing dry January.
Yeah.
Not for anyone else but myself.
Yeah.
Just to see how I feel.
So needless to say, we're doing 100 miles, running 100 miles in the month of January. And then like a week after we start this running 100 miles, David Goggins' girl posts, he just decides to do a 100-mile rock run. We're like, come on.
It's just in the middle of the night.
Yeah, in the middle of the night. We're like, come on, man. But anyway, so I think the goal of this podcast is to basically show how horrible a person feels, how horrible they are to their family, how horrible they are to themselves the day before rehab, and how they got to that point and how they were able to fix it. And like, the only way I can describe this for me is, my dad was a raging heroin addict while I was in high school, raging. He put my sister, my mom, and I through some bad times, and he got sober either my junior or senior year, and he died with 20 years sober. He died of cancer January 7th, 2021. And he was able to take those 20 years of sobriety, and he erased every bad feeling that I have from all the times that he took away from my sister, my mom, and I. You can't get rid of the memories. The memories are there, but the feelings are gone.
Yeah, I don't think you've, like you always say, like you don't remember one bad thing of your dad. You only ever talk good about your dad. I've never heard you say anything negative. And if you do talk about your dad's bad times, you're usually laughing about it because it's, you can laugh. It's just kind of like what we were doing. Like you can laugh about it now. At the moment, it's obviously not funny.
Right.
But
dude, he was nuts. So the point is, I feel that, long-term sobriety will hopefully do the same for you, right? You'll never forget some of the things that I've done, but maybe the visceral reaction and
it will lessen.
Yeah, that's my hopes, and I hope I can do that for myself. Days are hard, days are long, days are tough. Working 50 hours a week, being a full-time graduate student, having to go to a meeting every single night, being a husband, being a father, going to the gym every day is freaking hard and overwhelming. And when you add feelings of insecurity, vulnerability, feelings of less than, feeling like you're an idiot, feeling like how could anyone ever buy into your bullshit on top of all the things you're trying to do, it's hard. It's hard. I walk around work sometimes and I'm just waiting for someone to figure out I'm an idiot.
But you're not, though. That just comes from being insecure.
It's tough. It's tough. We want to have people on here, like I said, as guests to kind of share their stories. And we're going to talk about what happens along the way. Like I'll say Double D from Reading said to me, more will be revealed, right? As my journey progresses, more will be revealed. Megan will be on here sometimes she won't. And we're just going to see where it goes. So the Day Before Rehab podcast. This is our first episode. It's clunky. We have no idea what we're doing. I'm using my iPhone. A couple of things I got off Amazon. I paid a podcast company to edit it, which is going to be great. It's going to be great. Our dogs are here. So with that, you have anything else you want to finish up saying?
No,
Any final thoughts?
Just along for the ride, like per usual.
What does Jerry Springer say?
Just
final
riding
thoughts?
What is it?
Jerry Springer's final thoughts.
What did anyone ever say? Final thoughts?
Give us something insightful. Give us something good.
Insightful?
Yeah.
I'm not an insightful person.
Well, thank you for listening. And we really hope that with our experience, we can help someone who's been in similar situations know that they can get through it. Not by watching me. It's not about that, but by hearing stories.
Maybe not watching you, but maybe it was our dog Frankie, Tucker,
Yeah,
our cat
little
Poppy.
Poppy. Yeah.
If you guys don't like what we're saying, maybe just like all the animals around us.
Yeah. and one of the things my therapist, I'll end with this. My therapist said to me last session, he says, why are you doing all these things? Like, why do you think you need to? And my answer to that was, it's not complicated. And I didn't say that. I said, why not me? Why not? Why can't I get my MBA? Why can't I stay sober? Why can't I continue to be a good construction manager? And why can't I help people in some way, shape, or form at a level bigger than I ever thought possible? Why not me?
Yeah.
Why not me? And the only way to do that is to stay sober, be a good person, work hard every single day. And it's not about showing the world that. It's about showing myself that I can keep doing that. And then helping people understand how I did it so they can do it themselves. That's how I feel. So
it's a good note to end on.
that's it. Love you.
Love you.
I guess I want to end it this way.
Love you, bro.
Yeah.
We love you, Dad.
I love all of you.
We love you, daughter.
I love you too.
That was nice.
And I tell you what.